This conference will now be recorded.
స్టార్ట్ చేయొచ్చు. ఎంతమంది స్టూడెంట్స్ వచ్చారో అది ఎక్కడ ఉంది? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Shall I start the class? Class rep, how many of you have logged in?
115, sir.
Okay. I'll start the class then. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'll start the class. Today we'll discuss trauma, trauma management, advanced trauma life support, etc. Okay. So this is very important topic. See, based on this only, you can write any of the major essay questions. Like, so this applies to all, any trauma, unconscious patient. So anybody who is arriving at casualty or this thing, emergency care. So these principles apply to all acute conditions. So there's a protocol. I'll tell you steps, important steps, and way to follow. So suppose like, so this applies to all acute. Like a 70-year-old man has come with a history of fall from a tree. Now patient is unconscious. So what is your approach means? I'll tell you these steps and important points. So the same way, okay, history of fall or a diabetic, now suddenly hypoglycemic and unconscious. So all these unconscious patients or this thing. So any acute burns, history of blunt injury, history of sharp injury, any case approach is this method only. So the same principles you can write for any acute. Suppose if they ask like any shock or intestinal obstruction, there also you can mention these principles. So this is not just trauma, acute care, acute illness. So here you can see the first slide, right? You keep, now I can't see you, so you keep talking to me. One of you say yes, then we'll move to the next slide. Okay, all right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Definition of trauma. Trauma means wound, a Greek word for wound. So this could be different types of trauma. Like if an energy is applied externally, then the trauma occurs. So different types: mechanical, thermal, electrical, electromagnetic, nuclear, all these. So this includes all types of injury that occurs to the body. So it could be burns, drowning, smoke inhalation, slip and fall, road traffic accidents. So all of this, they come under trauma. So see, here it is written excluded poisoning and toxic injections. But even those patients, if they are unconscious, the same principles will apply. What are the principles we'll deal in this class? So we'll go to the next slide. Okay. Trimodal distribution of trauma deaths. Okay. So major trauma peak, the next slide, second slide we are discussing. The peak deaths occur within few seconds. So major trauma like 50%, you know, you can like 50% there'll be death. So there is virtually we cannot do anything. The patient is brought dead or a spot dead. That's what they call, like any major road traffic or accident. You know, there's a death occurs immediately. So the other second peak is you know, few minutes to first hour. So it is called the golden hour. The golden hour, you should remember. So for critically ill patients after trauma, the, you know, their survival depends upon how we manage them in the first hour. So it is very important. So that hour is called golden hour. So you cannot waste any time. So that is regarded as the golden hour. Okay. So generally, uh, categories, the next slide, categories, general categories of trauma divided into 3 categories: immediate life threatening, urgent, and non-urgent. So here itself, I'll again it will come triage. So suppose some 50 patients are coming to the hospital. Out of these 50, suppose 10, 10, 10, like that, 5. Okay. So how we divide? Triage, TRIAGE. Triage means to sort out. Again it will come. So the suppose this 40 to 50 patients, 50 patients are there. Out of these, we will divide among you know, these patients who need immediate attention, who need early attention, who need, you know, can be managed late. So immediate, early, late. And you know, dead patients, we are not going to waste any time. So color coding also, I'll tell you. See here, 3 categories are there: immediate life threatening, urgent, and non-urgent. And I'll also tell you the other one is dead patients. So many of the times triage means to sort out. Triage is been asked as 4 marks questions many of the times. So you please remember what I'm telling you, this color coding. So if you will be given tags, so we'll go around these 50 patients and tag them. So many times I've seen students writing their own colors or mismatch reference. So all this should not happen. How you can easily remember these colors, I will tell you. Okay, are you hearing
Yes.
me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay.
Sir.
Okay. So black color, black is for dead. So we know the patient is not spontaneously breathing. There's no activity. Pupils are dilated and fixed. You know, patient is dead. So black, when you tag a patient with black color, that means patient is dead. So we are not going to waste any more time on that patient. You know, better to divert your attention to critically ill patients. So critically ill or who need immediate attention, those people will be red. They'll be tagged with the, you know, red. So red denotes immediate attention. Now now you have to pay attention. So these are the people who we can save within the golden hour or the first hour. So early intervention. So their lives can be saved. So immediate attention should be paid. So next, red means immediate. So urgent is yellow. How to remember this? I'll tell you. Urgent is yellow. That means it is not life threatening as immediate, but still need attention. So you can spare 15-20 minutes later, you can go to that patient. So that is urgent. That is not life threatening, but still needs urgent. So yellow color is urgent. Non-urgent or can be the patient is stable for now, has minor injuries. So that you can remember as green. So black, I told you, dead patients. Red means alert, like traffic signals, you know, red. So red means alert. You have to stop and pay attention to that patient immediately. Stop other things and pay attention to this patient immediately. So that is red. So you can remember like this. Don't write, but I'm telling you for remembrance sake. So traffic signals, you see green, no? Green means go. Green means go ahead. So green patients, you can, you know, ask them to go, and you know, it's not urgent, non-urgent. So in between red and green is early, yellow color. Is it? Did you understand? Did you understand
Yes, sir.
this?
Yes, sir.
Black is dead. Once again, I'm repeating. Black for dead patients, red for immediate life-threatening, yellow for urgent, green for non-urgent. So this is called triage. So in a group of patients, we will sort out which patients are dead, which patients immediate life-threatening injury, which need immediate attention. Then next is early, then non-urgent. So black, dead, red, life-threatening, yellow, urgent, green, non-urgent. Going to next slide. I want all of you to, you know, these 9 headings: preparation, triage, primary survey, resuscitation. I want you to remember all of these. Note down. You are having PPTs, right? This PPT, you can see this PPT. You can see, students.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. First is preparation. Second is triage. Third is primary survey. That is A, B, C, D, E. See, I'm going to tell you certain extra points which are there in the latest textbook. So this is important. This is most important. And you know, the points which I'm going to tell you also. So you have to note down. Don't just think that PPT is there, so it does not matter. I'll review later like that. You will miss out on the other points I'm going to tell you. So preparation, triage, primary survey, resuscitation, adjuncts to primary survey and resuscitation means in addition. Adjuncts means in addition. Then secondary survey, then adjuncts to secondary survey, then continued post resuscitation monitoring, re-evaluation, 9 definitive care. You have 9 points, right? 9. You can see 9 here. All of you, anybody other than
Yes, sir.
class rep? Yeah. Out of these 9, another order I'll tell you. The most important, 4 most important are primary survey. That is at number 3. Primary survey, followed by number 4, resuscitation. Then 6, secondary survey. Then 9, definitive care. Okay, you are supposed to write all this 9, but in case you don't remember, you cannot miss out on these 4 points. What are these 4 points? Primary survey, resuscitation, secondary survey, and definitive care. Understood? Out of these 9, these 4 are important. Primary survey, resuscitation, secondary survey, and definitive care. So we'll go to the next one. So preparation means pre-hospital phase and hospital phase. That means we are getting prepared. Suppose somebody tells you, pre-hospital phase. What is that pre-hospital phase? Receiving hospital is notified first. That is, suppose same like ashram, we have 30 or 40 beds in casualty, or so we are equipped to receive. Suppose 100 are going to come, then we are not prepared to take 100 patients here. So we will tell the team, whoever is sending, send only 50 here, and other, the other 50 you can send to the nearby hospital, because we are equipped to take only 50 cases or 40 cases, like that. Understood? So that is, we'll notify them. There is no point in taking 100 cases. Just a minute. Hello? Hello? Okay, let's continue. The preparation, pre-hospital phase, that is receiving the hospital. Receiving hospital is notified by the team which is bringing the cases. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Are you there? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
how many patients we can take them up? So those many only we will take up. Rest we will ask them to send to the nearest facility. So in the hospital phase also, while they are bringing, suppose they are bringing from they are bringing from Gannavaram or some other place here. So we can expect the patients to come in another half an hour. So in this half an hour, what we are going to prepare that trauma ward. So any suppose only 4 or 5 people are on duty, we know this is called mass casualties. So we know some 40-50 cases are coming, so we'll call the extra doctors from hostel and other quarters, and also ask them for their help. So then meanwhile we'll make IV stands, beds, oxygen, and all these ventilators or whatever is required, intubation trays, IV lines, all these things. So that we can tackle that many number of patients. So this is called hospital phase. So all we should be able to receive the 50 patients and address to them immediately. So all of these. Let's go to the next. Triage, I already told you. Triage means to sort out. So we will, out of the 40-50 patients, we'll divide into 4 categories. I told you: dead, immediate life threatening, early or urgent, early, then non-urgent. So dead, immediate life threatening, then early, non-urgent. So 4. So these people which we are going to take, they should not exceed the capability of the facility and the staff. So we should be well aware of how many patients we can treat here. No point in taking a large number and then not attending to them. That looks bad. So that those excess patients can be shifted to the next hospital or nearby hospital, nearby facility immediately. So this is very important. Next, primary survey. Primary survey. This is very important. So here it is written in capitals: airway, breathing, circulation, disability, and exposure and environment. You can see all of you. Please answer
sir.
me. Keep
Yes, sir.
talking.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now see, before that, before the present, you if you take after this, you open Bailey and Love. After this, you open Bailey and Love. So in the previous one also you will not see. Now they have modified. So in front of the capital A, you write small c. So the order is small c, A, B, C, D, E. What is that small c? I'll tell you. So all of you understand?
Yes,
You
sir.
understood yeah. Affix, put a small c before that airway, that A. So that small c is like control of massive hemorrhage. You please write down control of massive hemorrhage. Control of massive external hemorrhage. Small c. So before going to airway, breathing, circulation, disability and all, if you see that a patient is there and is bleeding profusely, so that small c denotes you control that hemorrhage, that control that hemorrhage of bleeding. So how do you control it? Just pack and apply pressure. Stop the, take a gauze pads, pack, and pack them and apply adequate pressure. So with that, the hemorrhage will temporarily get controlled. So that is what we have to do. We have to stop profuse bleeding. Is if you pack that area with this gam pads, Gamgee pads, pack and apply adequate pressure. Just apply not too much pressure, but adequate pressure. Continue to apply the pressure like 20 minutes, okay, 20 minutes, approximately 20 minutes to half an hour. Just apply pressure. Do not relax and apply pressure again. Relax. No, it's a pressure is applied continuously for minimum 20 minutes. Then if you remove the pad, then you'll see that the bleeding has been controlled, or small trickle is there which can be tackled, which you can ligate, or which you can coagulate, or uh, stop the bleeding. So unless packing and pressure is there, that bleeding won't stop. So the small c denotes control of massive external hemorrhage. Is this understood?
Yes,
Small
Yes,
c
sir.
sir.
over. Yeah. Next we'll go to airway with cervical spine. So airway, cervical collar. See, if massive hemorrhage is not there, forget it. Then how is the trauma patient received? How is the trauma patient received by the trauma team or the paramedical staff? Patient is put on a stretcher. Patient is put on a stretcher, and then somebody holds the leg, two people are holding the leg, two people are holding the back, and two people are holding the head and shoulder. So how you are going to move the patient, you can note this down. This is called log roll movement, like a log piece of wood, that is called log roll movement. So all three people, legs, back and head and shoulder, 1 2 3, move the patient, like roll the patient, that's all. No moving the individual parts, no moving the head alone, like that. Then what will happen? Some cervical fracture is there, C4, C5 or C6, then that will get worsened. So cervical collar is placed, collar is placed, patient is immobilized. Then you can write this down, log roll, log, log roll. That is how the patient is shifted from a stretcher to the bed in the trauma ward. So like that, log roll movement. Then airway with cervical spine protect, I already told you. Cervical collar is applied so that cervical spine is protected. So no more damage. Suppose damage occurs, C5, C6 and all, then the whole body beneath is paralyzed. So we don't want that. That is very bad. And patient diaphragm is also paralyzed. Patient will not be able to breathe. Then you have to do tracheostomy and all that, artificial ventilation and all that. So it is very important that we protect the cervical spine. Cervical collar is applied. Okay. Then we assess then the airway is assessed quickly, like open the airway, then head tilt, jaw thrust, then see the airway inside. Any warm, if you have suction, apply suction and remove. Vomitus is there, blood is there, broken teeth are there, dentures are there. All these things are removed. Then the airway. Suppose patient is not, poor effort is there, patient is not breathing properly, then you have to intubate and ventilate. So patient is already unconscious, then you need not paralyze the patient. Otherwise use a paralytics like succinylcholine, then the patient is paralyzed. See, awake patients we cannot put the ET tube inside, intubation tube inside, because of gag reflex. You are all awake. If I try to put something in your throat, what will you do? You'll have gagging. You'll start throw up. So, or gag reflex due to that, vomit. So to prevent all that, unconscious patients you need not give. Okay. Otherwise, you paralyze the patient using succinylcholine. Then this ET tube, endotracheal tube, you can visualize. It goes through the vocal cords. Vocal cords are V-shaped. Between the vocal cord it goes and into the airway, into the bronchus. So that's how airway is secured. Suppose ET tube is not there, then we will show you, there is a piece called Goodell's airway, which will prevent the tongue from rolling back. So that airway you can put until you can get an intubation tray where ET tube is available. So airway is secured. So if nothing else is there, means you put a oxygen mask and you start bagging. so that air enters. And meanwhile, you do any aspiration, the secretions like blood, saliva, all these things are coming. So you do that. So secure the airway. Okay. The best thing if you are unsure, intubation and ventilation. Please note down. How is airway secured? Cervical spine is protected, then airway is secured in an unconscious patient. Airway is secured by you intubate the patient, intubate the patient, and then connect to ventilation. If you are doing by ambu bag ventilator, there are ventilator is there, connect to the ventilator and set the modes. Okay, either manual ventilation or ventilator. So after the airway is secured, patient has been intubated and ventilation is going on. Then after ventilation, next is B, breathing. Auscultate both the lungs. Please write down. Auscultate both the lungs. Check the breathing. Check after intubation and you are ventilating either manually or ventilation by ventilator. Is the air which we are sending, is it entering both the lungs and lungs are expanding? Breathing is there or not? One side air entry is decreased means what? Some hemothorax or pneumothorax, what something is there, some pathology. So we have to correct that immediately. So what is done? A chest tube, intercostal drainage tube is placed on that side. Then the hemothorax and pneumothorax, is corrected. So I think the next slides, they will tell all this. So we'll go there. Circulation, disability and exposure. So see, again, primary survey for any patient, it is the same. See next slide. Priorities for the care of adult, pediatrics, pregnant women, any trauma patient. The same ABCD apply. Only now, you please mention of late that small c is added prior to ABCDE. What is that small c? Control of
Bleeding.
Massive
external
Bleeding.
hemorrhage. Hello? Control of massive external hemorrhage. Okay. See, next, this airway with next slide. Airway maintenance with cervical spine protection. So, all of you know GCS score, Glasgow Coma Scale. GCS. It has 3 components. I'll tell you, please note down 3 components. Motor, then verbal and eye opening. So out of maximum score is GCS, maximum score is what?
15.
15. Good. Maximum score is 15. Minimum is 3. It is not 0. Minimum is 3. So maximum is 15. 15 by 15, fine. So out of these, I'll tell you, please remember, motor requires more effect. Motor. So it has 6. 6. The score for motor is 6. That it will range from patient, patient doing activity spontaneously. Then under elimination of gravity, then only flicker of flame like that, then no movement at all like that. Oh. Like that, the score of motor will go from 6 to 1. So motor is always highest, 6. So then next is verbal. response, call him spontaneously speaking, then it is 5. Then is arousable. When you call his name is arousing, is arousable, then it is 4, like that, Then stimulation onto pain, like, apply external rub or like some painful stimuli, then patient is, making some noise. Okay, like that. Verbal is how much? 5.
5.
Then eye opening is 4. Spontaneous eye opening 4. Arousable, then 3, like that. So you can remember like this. Motor is 6. Verbal is
5.
5. Eye opening is 4. Okay. So 6 plus 4 plus 5 is equal to 15. Always aim for 15. Even 13 it is also little, dubious. So like GCS less than 8 and all is very bad. That means patient is almost, unconscious. So as soon as GCS score is 8 means, then and there itself you can GCS, unless you practice day in and day out, it won't be on your fingertips. Okay, you are students now. So when you become little clinicians, house surgeons, then you can practice, or you start practicing. All we all are 15 out of 15. There is no this thing. Okay, so like that. So even 15, 12, 13 also is little. 8 and all is unacceptable. A patient of 8 simply lying there is unacceptable. He has to be intubated and ventilated. Okay. So then protection of the spine and spinal cord, I told you. Okay. So always assume that there is a cervical spine injury in any patient with multiple systemic trauma and, altered level of consciousness. Put the cervical collar first, immobilize the spine, then simultaneously assess the airway. So all this GCS 8 and all is bad. Then unconscious patient means there is no need to tell. Unconscious patient means GCS is less than 8 only. Okay. Then such kind of people need intubation and ventilation. Intubate the patient. Intubate the patient, that is pass the intubation tube through the vocal cords into this thing. Then check while bag or ventilation, is the chest expanding and, reclining. So that means the air which you are sending is going into the chest. Now sometimes ET tube will be misplaced and somebody will place it into the esophagus, and not, that is very bad. That tube has gone into the esophagus, then you can see the stomach expanding. Meanwhile, there is hypoxia, and this kind of hypoxia will cause irreversible brain damage. So we cannot afford to have this kind of hypoxia and all. Make sure the ET tube is airway is maintained. ET tube has gone into the airway and not into the esophagus. So this we have to take care. Okay. Breathing and ventilation. Okay. I told you, okay, afterwards, after your ventilation, check whether the air entry into both the lungs is equal or not. Somewhere, uh, there is decreased air entry. In these kind of acute episodes, I mean, in this kind of acute setting, do not wait for a chest X-ray to confirm pneumothorax, hemothorax, and all. So you place the chest tube, fifth intercostal line. There's a triangle of safety. I'll tell you that later. Triangle of safety or fifth intercostal space, mid-clavicular line. Put a tube, then you can, any air will gush out or any fluid is there, it will come. Then connect it to an underwater seal. Fifth intercostal space, mid-clavicular line, or more appropriate is triangle of safety. The boundaries you please look up, or I'll tell you later. Now suppose intercostal tube is not there and patient is struggling for breath, some pneumothorax or this thing you're suspected, then what you can do, what can you do? I will tell you what you can do. Take a wide bore cannula. Wide bore means like a cannula, which is wide bore, not an like an IV cannula, only it is little wider, not narrow. So take a wide bore cannula, second intercostal space, mid clavicular line, you pierce it. So any hemo, then again gush of air, it will come out, then the patient is relieved. So this is called needle thoracostomy. So second intercostal space, mid clavicular line, just introduce a wide bore cannula. So this is only temporary. So meanwhile you order for intercostal this apparatus or the set, everything, intercostal tube. So when it comes again, you fifth intercostal space, you put in a tube, intercostal tube, and do a formal drainage procedure. So until then, if the patient is in a dire emergency and you don't have an intercostal tube, so and patient condition is getting worse, then I told you this, second intercostal space, mid clavicular line, introduce a wide bore cannula, just push it in, wide bore cannula, just push it in, then you can, patient will pneumothorax is sort of relieved. Then meanwhile try to get the ICD tube in place. Okay, then check if there is lung expansion. Always take a check X-ray later. Okay, so lung has expanded, then air entry again is resumed, and so all of these. So even after intercostal drainage, what you are getting, blood or some serosanguinous greater than 2 liters or something, then that means then you have to open the patient, do a formal thoracotomy, open up and see where the bleeding point is, and then ligate. So more than 2 liters at that same sitting you are getting, means that will require. Otherwise, put the intercostal drainage tube where fifth intercostal space, mid axillary line. That is what I told you, right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here, emergency purposes, the wide bore cannula is introduced in mid clavicular line, that is in the front, mid clavicular line, in front, second intercostal space. Whereas this formal tube, ICD tube, fifth intercostal space, mid axillary line, okay. Then airway you have secured, then breathing is good, both the lungs are rising, and expansion is there, air entry is equal on both sides, okay. Then circulation and hemorrhage control. Here how blood volume and cardiac output, level patient is conscious means not that much of, these are crude indicators, not that much of blood is lost. So unconscious patient must have lost a lot more blood. So then skin color, pallor is there, that means patient would have lost blood. So these are little crude indicators. Then pulse, tachycardia is there, bounding pulse is there, or when as as it progresses, then it becomes feeble pulse, or pulse is not felt in very bad cases. So initially shock is what? Tachycardia and hypotension is shock. So you correct it, so until the heart rate comes to normal, or this pulse now not palpable, russian fluids, 2 liters, like that, fluid challenge it is called. So 2 liters of ringer lactate, then you can hear the you can feel the pulse. So that means, okay, these are called responders, okay. Then bleeding, I told you external bleeding is identified and controlled. Now I told you tourniquet should not be used. I told you that previous small c, control of massive external hemorrhage. There only packing, pack pressure, apply pressure, and then pray that is not going to die, he or she. Okay. Don't write prayer there. 3 P's. Always remember, even inside laparotomy, you're doing some bleeding is there. So blindly don't apply hemostats. Just pack, apply pressure, wait for 20 minutes, then remove. In between, don't remove and see. Pack, apply pressure for 20 minutes, then just remove and see. Then you can see that whichever vessel is there, it will be small trickle will be there. So that you can ligate or coagulate or somehow apply clips or control it. So tourniquets should not be used. So next, A, B, C, D. D is disability, neurological evaluation. Here, APVU. This is quick. For all purposes, GCS is the best in trauma, Glasgow Coma Scale, motor, verbal, and eye opening. So assess repeatedly. So here disability, APVU means patient is alert. Then V is responding to vocal stimuli, that you're calling him by his name, or calling, Mr. Open your eyes, like that, then he's opening, Then P is response to painful stimuli, painful stimuli. Previously the recommended procedure is, make a fist, knuckles are there, your knuckles, then rub on the sternum of the patient. It is called sternal rub. Due to that, then patient will open eyes. So now sternal rub is not okay, but even apply some pain. Check if painful stimuli is the patient responding, opening his eyes, or making some, saying no, or some audible maybe words or some noises is making, so does not matter. Responding to painful stimuli or not. Then U is unresponsive, that is bad. Okay. So always use Glasgow Coma scale. So exposure and environment, next slide, exposure and environmental control. Here, when the patient is brought to a certain hospital like this, here environment should be ideal. You should have air conditioning, and it should be air conditioning. Suppose outside weather is very hot, then we should have some air conditioning, and take off all the clothes. And or if it is cold, then you put a warmer. Certain blankets are available for ICU care, so you can use those. So here exposure means you have to take away all the clothing. So then in secondary survey, check head to toe examination is done, so you cannot miss out any injuries. So suppose there is fractured pelvis or blood is there, urethral injury, blood is there at the penis, penile urethra, or some other ecchymosis you are seeing. So all this, so for that you have to thoroughly expose the patient, take out all the clothes, put on a hospital gown. Then environment control should be optimal, optimum temperature should be there. So, and also don't uh, you know IV fluids which are giving, they should be of close to the temperature of the patient. Suppose they are there in the fridge or cooler, make sure they are warmed. I mean, warm means they're put in a bag of cloth, and then they have returned to room temperature before you. Don't rush in cold fluids into the patient. So that exposure, environmental control. So next slide we are going. So I told you, okay, before airway, I told you add small c. So airway, breathing, ventilation, oxygenation, then circulation. Circulation, what get to large IV cannulas, large caliber, not small one. 18G is routinely used, so you have to go for a little more larger. So large IV cannulas are placed on both sides. So then start resuscitating. So when you are placing the IV cannulas, then itself, before when you are placing, at that time itself you take the blood for cross matching, blood for cross matching, and for blood transfusion. So the blood group, and otherwise O negative. O negative is the universal donor. So cross match and reserve adequate blood and blood products. So at the same time, then so ringer lactate is preferred. Okay. Colloids, if you use like hydroxyethyl starch or some other colloids, they tend to stay in the intravascular compartment a little more longer. So crystalloids or colloids, it does not matter. Okay. Crystalloids, ringer lactate is fine. So on normal saline, ringer lactate, so use them, and restore. So what are the indicators that the patient status has come to stable? Tachycardia has subsided. Tachycardia has subsided and hypotension is corrected. Okay. Systolic hypotension is now 90 or so. So it is acceptable. So, and one more thing, urine output indicates that you put in a Foley's catheter, check the urine output. What is the adequate urine output of an adult? I think I told you previously. In these sort of situations, what is the adequate urine output of an adult per hour? You tell me. Anybody? Are you there?
60
How much?
25 ml.
No. Please
60,
note
sir.
down.
60 ml.
No, 50 ml means the patient should be 50 kgs. It is 1 ml per kg body weight per hour. So if the patient is 70 kgs, this hour I am expecting 70 ml of urine. This hour 70 ml of urine or 100 ml, it does not matter. 70 ml or more. So how much can I allow? Lower limit, how much can I allow it? Half of that, 0.5 to 1. So I'm getting about 35 ml of urine. 35 ml of urine, half of that, 70 kgs, right? So half of that, 35 ml I'm getting. Then it also it is not good sign. Beyond, if I'm getting 25 ml, 10 ml, that means what fluids I'm giving, it is inadequate or patient is still losing somewhere, the bleeding is occurring and patient is still losing blood and you know uh, or gastrointestinal means some diarrhea or something, vomiting, like I'm not resuscitated enough. So remember, in always the patient in acute setting and intensive care units, ask for hourly urine output. Hourly urine output, it is around 1 ml kg body weight per hour. So 70 kgs 70 ml, 60 kgs 60 ml, 50 kgs 50 ml. The lower limit is half of that. So beyond half of that, it should not go. That means something is happening there. What it could lead to acute renal shutdown. Then there is no oliguria, persistent oliguria if not corrected. Then acute renal shutdown. Then there will be no urine output. That is very bad prognosis. We cannot let such things happen. Okay, make sure the urine output is greater than 1 ml per kg body weight per hour. Lower limit is half of that, 0.5 ml per kg body weight per hour. But don't tell 0.5. That is only that's the lower limit. Adequate is 1 ml per kg body weight per hour. So urine output is also a good indicator that the patient's circulation is adequate. So pulse, tachycardia has come down, or now you are able to feel good pulse. Then hypotension is corrected and urine output is good. So these are the indication that the patient is adequately perfused. So adjuncts means in adjuncts to primary survey. Next slide. So here if you have, so whether adjuncts are available, very well and good. ECG monitoring is there, pulse oximetry is there, then all these things. This urinary catheter is a must, because we have to know the urine output. So we have to know the hourly urine output to know whether the almost all the hospitals and this trauma teams or paramedical staff even outside, they'll be having urinary catheter and Foley's catheter or urinary catheter, and also Ryle's tube. In an unconscious patient, always put in a Ryle's tube. This will secure the airway. How will it secure the airway? In an unconscious patient, if you are not putting a Ryle's tube, then the gastric contents can go into the airway and cause aspiration pneumonia. Please note down this. So you put in a Ryle's tube, whatever gastric contents are there, suck them out and put it in a continuous drainage and hourly aspiration you do. So if you are not putting, then there is a risk that the patient will aspirate, and this aspiration pneumonia ARDS is very difficult to treat. So avoid all that. Unconscious patient, you are intubating and ventilating at the same time, put in a Ryle's tube, then empty the stomach contents. Okay. So these are all adjuncts. So check for all these things. You know, monitoring pulse oximetry, then arterial blood gas and analysis, all these things. Adjuncts, if they are there, then it is very good. But if they are not there also, you should be able to manage with a minimal setting, or you should be, no need, okay, ECG monitoring and this thing is there, fine. Otherwise also you continue resuscitation with, whatever you have. So that is why I told you the most important things are primary survey and resuscitation. These go hand in hand. I told you here that ABC airway you're checking, immediately you're correcting anything is there. Say patient is unconscious, then you're intubating and ventilating. Patient is all right, fine, talking, alert and all, there is no need for to intubate, just observe, see to that, okay, patient doesn't collapse or anything. Then breathing, circulation, then disability and all this. So next order for C-spine X-ray, pelvic film, so all this. So primary resuscitation, primary survey and resuscitation go hand in hand. Immediately, as soon as you are checking, you are going on correcting. So one after the other. The order is airway, breathing, circulation, disability and exposure. This is the order. So in case that small c I told you, in case in very rare cases like road traffic accidents or somewhere, or falls or something, some external massive hemorrhage is there, you control it. Otherwise, standard age old monitoring is standard this thing only. What? Airway, breathing, circulation and disability. So secondary survey. So I will tell you important point. Do not go to the secondary survey until primary survey and resuscitation are completed. You underline this 10 times. Primary survey, that is airway, breathing, circulation, disability, exposure and environment, all of these you have checked and patient has been resuscitated. Then only you are going to the primary survey over, resuscitation over, then only you are going to the secondary survey. Otherwise, there is no going to the secondary survey. First, finish primary survey and resuscitation, then secondary survey. Here it is clearly written, does not begin until the primary survey is completed. So here, after the patient has been, vital signs are heart rate, pulse rate or heart rate, blood pressure, then respiratory rate and okay, temperature. Then the which is not mentioned but very important, that is urine output. That indicates that the patient is adequately perfused. Then do a secondary survey. Head to toe evaluation, that is now check from head to toe, examine everything head to toe. Any skull fractures are there, then base of skull fractures are there. So all of these I'll tell you. Meanwhile, when the before you start the secondary, you take this history is called there is no time to take, elaborate history. This is not an what this is not like a patient is not going to get admitted in normal ward and for elective surgery. So quick history we have to take. So in this quick history, what are the important points? It is written there. Ample. So quick. All now not don't go blah 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 and all this. This is the only important histories. Allergies. Is the patient allergic to any sulfur drugs or any other drugs? So make a note of the penicillins and all these things. Allergies. Then medication currently used. Is the patient hypertensive? Is the patient diabetic? So these medications, current medications. Then past illness means recently as past illness and pregnancy. Just ask. And last meal, when very important, last meal. Suppose the trauma has occurred, the patient has had a full meal and has come outside, then there is trauma has occurred. Last meal means you have to empty the contents of the stomach and also plan any anesthesia procedure. So you cannot have that anesthesia procedure with a full stomach. So last meal, okay. Last meal, you ask when did the patient take anything orally? So meal does not mean just food, even oral liquids or anything, whatever. So last meal, just ask the attendant. And events related to this injury. How did it occur? Briefly, how did it occur? A patient climbed a tree, then some uh, electric shock or something pole and fallen down. Some brief relevant history. So then physical examination head to toe. You have to examine all of these. Visual acuity, pupillary size. The pupillary size very important. Both sides pupils. Please note this down. Both sides pupils are dilated and fixed. That means not reacting to the torchlight which you are putting. So which are the torchlight which you are using to assess this thing, pupillary size. So both sides dilated, fixed, not reacting to light, means very bad prognosis. Okay, mild constriction is there reacting to light, then you can expect dilated and fixed, not reacting. Pupils dilated, fixed, not reacting to light is grave prognosis. Okay, then penetrating injuries, all these eyes. Then maxillofacial tube injury, any check any mandibular fractures are there, any tooth have broken. So all these things, that broken teeth you have to remove, otherwise the patient will again, it will go into the airway. Then cervical spine, now again check once again. Then chest, and for all these nowadays whole body CT is recommended. Please note down, whole body CT. You can assess all the injuries. So per abdomen, just check, have to uh, liver, and any tenderness there, rigidity is there, rigidity is there, guarding and rigidity, board like rigidity. Consistency is not, usually abdomen is soft. Board like rigidity means some hemoperitoneum is there, which is irritating the uh, parietal peritoneum. Then whole thing rigid in consistency. Bowel sounds are absent. So all perineum, rectum, do a rectal examination, vaginal examination. So neurological. So head to toe examination in all this, head to toe examination in secondary survey. Adjuncts means then all the others, what all you need. X-rays to confirm, fracture of the long bones or fracture of the pelvis, or then get again a repeat ultrasound. Or I think whole body CT is recommended. That will almost always give you entire picture. So make a note of all the, see here, adult urine output 0.5 ml per kg per hour it is written. So that is only the lower limit. You ignore that pediatric. So adult urine output aim at 1 ml per kg body weight per hour, not 0.5 ml is a lower limit, not. So now you make a list of all the injuries. Patient is stable now. Patient primary survey is over. So a patient is unconscious, you have intubated and put the patient connected to a ventilator. Then airway and breathing. Air entry is equal. No need of any putting tubes. If necessary, tube is put. Then airway breathing. Now circulation. You've given crystalloids, colloids. Then blood is awaiting. Then circulation. Disability. You checked. There is no paralysis or paresis or anything. Neurological system is intact. Like or you make a note of that which side patient is having some hemiparesis or whatever. Then disability environment, then A B C D E. Primary survey resuscitation. Now after that you've done the secondary survey. In your secondary survey you have noticed that there is fracture, fractured femur is there. Then then at the same time there is some liver laceration. You need to evaluate what is the grade of that laceration. So you make a list: fracture femur, liver laceration, then another some more external bruisings are there. So always remember, left side lower chest, left lower, there's a bruising means check, get an ultrasound abdomen and pelvis, check if the spleen is all right or not, or splenic tear. For that moment it might appear all right, later the patient will collapse. So you cannot have all that. So left side, left lower chest, fracture ribs are there, external bruising is there, then check, immediately get an ultrasound abdomen and pelvis or CT. That will tell the status of the spleen. So all this, some 4-5 injuries you've made. Now you prioritize which needs attention first. So abdomen needs to be opened, fine. Then this fractured femur can be dealt later or like that. So then you prioritize and give a definitive care. So this is definitive care. So I think I've taken more than this thing, enough. So please remember, primary survey, resuscitation. Guys, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, primary survey and resuscitation. Then primary survey, resuscitation, secondary survey, definitive care. So these headings you can write for anything, even for burns. You please write airway breathing control or any unconscious patient. So any laparotomy, intestinal obstruction, intestinal perforation, post-operative care or pre-operative care. Patient is in shock, any kind of shock. So any kind of shock. Again, treatment is approach is the same. A, B, C, D, E. Airway breathing sector. Only nowadays you can mention or see it is good. How many students are there? So it is
15,
good
sir.
nowadays. Huh? Okay, it is good now. Okay, while writing, I'll tell you here. This small c, for many years the protocol is A, B, C, D, E only. This small c has been added recently. Control of massive external hemorrhage. So you can mention recent guidelines have indicated that that you can put that small c and write recent. Otherwise, I'm telling certain examiners who are, following age old, they might wonder what is this C, small c has written. Uh, I don't know if they follow, if they are following up to date, it is fine. Otherwise, so it is good to write some new points which we are telling means recent guidelines indicated. So that shows that you have read and that you are suggesting not on your own, that recent guidelines, that control of massive external hemorrhage is recommended, like the so that is why that small c before a b c d e. So it is all there in Bailey and Love. So all you have to do is go back and read. So this is a very important chapter. So with this, you can write most of the essay questions. So, or any post-operative management, or so if you mention this breathing, ABCD, circulation, disability, all this, if you mention, then they know that you are capable of managing a patient. So you will get marks indefinitely, and the examiners will be impressed that at least he knows, he or she knows, student knows airway breathing. So this will get you marks for any of acute illness where, in addition to that particular question, if you write these, so this will get you good marks. Or straight away, trauma can be an essay question. And triage, I told you many times, they have asked as 4 marks question. And I've seen people writing, pink and purple or whatever colors they want. That is not. I told you, it's red, red, yellow, and green. That's all. And which is for what you should know. So I'm going to stop this class now. Anything else? You please see. Class rep Pavan, you told me that hemorrhage and this thing as trauma has not been. So I covered one topic, right? Pavan,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yeah, one topic I've covered. So next one, we will finish all the topics before the exam. Okay. You need anything more? You please let me know. So please go and revise this. So with this, you can answer most of the some case scenarios. If they're giving that, then you can answer these also. That's about it. Thank you. Class rep, please give the attendance to the department clerk.
Yes,
Thanks.
sir.
So see you in the next class. Anything anybody wants, you please, let me know. Either through class rep or just, send a message. So I'll get back to you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.